You're heavily involved, obviously, with the sport of sprint car racing, and we were messaging a week or so ago about the new POWRi 410 sprint car series that's going to be introduced from 2022. And I know you were pretty excited about it, but I just want to hear, why is that a good thing to you?
Well, I mean, the more series that we can get going, it promotes paying money for sprint car races. It's organised, rather than one promoter just throwing a race on here or there. When you group them together like that, and, generally a series has, a point fund. So it's all more money getting involved in the sport. It spreads the races out. So if we condense all the races at one event, I mean, we're all fighting for the same money. When you spread it out amongst other events, then everybody makes a little bit more money. When everybody's making a little bit more money, they can afford it, the sport grows. It's just that simple. I mean, the more return you get back from your results, the more you're liable to spend and, on product, and keep manufacturers going and keep the sport of sprint car racing growing. Obviously, when you win money, it's fun. So, I mean, we all like that. And at the end of the day, if there's more money on offer, because there's more series, then people have more fun too. So I think that's an important part of it.
As a competitor, another major sprint car series is great simply for the fact that it just means that there's more high-paying shows. But as a fan, though, I want to see all of the best drivers all at one place racing together to produce the best entertainment. Another series only kind of thins that out. I feel like sprint car racing...
In the short term, I agree with you. In the long term, what we're able to do is take younger guys, because there's an opportunity to race in those series, build that talent, and then that talent rises to the top, and then ultimately that talent pools in the top end of the sport. So without foundations, you can't really, imagine that that there isn't enough series, so that younger guys don't get an opportunity to grow in the sport. I mean, there's a big difference between racing a 360 sprint car and a 410 sprint car. And right now, a lot of people just settle for that because they think that that's as far as they can go in the sport. The truth is, right now, 360 engines cost the same amount as 410 engines. So if there's a series available for somebody to race in a 410, there's no more races you get out of a 360. A good 410 at a short track will do 20 plus nights. And nowadays, the parts are amazing, and the motors perform really well. So once upon a time, we used to break the motors. We used to have them freshened up, 10 or 12 races all the time. And it's just not necessary anymore. So this sort of, I mean, while the motors cost more to start with, they sort of race a little bit longer. So your cost per race is going down, which is a good thing. And, I mean, there's just a lot more product out there, a lot more engines out there that are getting passed down. So a lot more quality stuff. Sport gets bigger, and those younger guys get an opportunity to move out of that 360 into a 410, and we build more talent, and the sport grows.
Like I said, as a competitor, that all makes sense. Like that's good and well. And like I said, the more series, the more money's out there, and when you've got more series competing against each other, that means that they've got to lift their game and make higher purses.
You're right.
to attract teams and drivers. But like I said before, as a fan, I just want to see everyone together at once. I don't really give a shit if it's cheaper or whatever. And I just feel like sprint car racing's got this problem, as opposed to other major racing categories. Like if you want to watch NASCAR or Formula One or IndyCar or supercars here in Australia, it's got all the best guys, and they all travel around into one place. And if you want to watch the premier racing, it's at that place this weekend. And I just feel like we spoke about, as a competitor, I like that I don't have to maybe travel as far because I've got a big paying show up the road. But as a fan, I just feel like we're shooting ourselves in the foot by thinning out our product.
I think there's a big difference between, even a guy that runs, some of the guys, the top guys at Knoxville, there's a significant budget. Some of the top guys in Pennsylvania, there's a significant budget. But there's still a big gap between that and the World of Outlaws. And the World of Outlaws have got, they've got, they've actually got a terrific, car count themselves that they bring, which is better than ever. It's more healthy. I do appreciate, we'd like to see more big rides where, you know what I mean, we had more big car owners. Car owners have got thin over the years, but the more car owners that we have, look at Kerry Madsen, for argument's sake. He's been racing for Tony Stewart Racing, and you can see he's one of the best drivers in the world right now. There's a lot going on at Tony Stewart Racing with drag racing, all kinds of stuff. We're not sure if he's got a ride next year. Does he deserve a ride in this world, in the sprint car world? Absolutely. But when there's not enough rides, let's face it, if we can get more interest at a local level, maybe build some better car owners, maybe they'd get out there and guys like him would rise to the top and get that opportunity.
Again, for the growth of sprint car racing, as someone like you who's involved in Australia, in the States, in racing yourself and obviously manufacturing parts, I really appreciate your opinion on things. So how can we grow the sport together globally? I feel like in the USA and Australia, just between those two countries, that we've got different rules, different formats, different series, different people involved, and we're not, although the drivers can bounce around and are able to adapt between, the I guess minor differences between the cars. I feel like we're not one unit as a sport globally. Again, we're in Canada and New Zealand and a couple of other countries, but how can we make it one big unit and really grow the sport together?
That's a good question. I don't see the differences in the rules as a boundary. I don't see that. So I don't look at it that. I think the rules in Australia are better myself. Than in the United States. That's just my opinion. Is what it is. I think it's more technical here because the cars are, kind of cookie cuttered and boxed up a little bit harder. The tires are better in Australia. They're more fun to race on. Yeah. The wings are more fun in Australia. I know that the way that they've gone in America, but I don't really necessarily agree with it. Essentially, I think I was part of why Donny Schatz has been part of why the rules changed here. He just was so dominant, and we just had, they felt like our competitors couldn't keep up with what we were doing in way of, the development of our product, and they just needed to they were afraid, so they just changed the rules to satisfy that. The tires that they built, they started with Goodyear and then moved to Hoosier, and they think they know what they're doing. And I guess if they see better results in terms of fans and everything else, I guess it's a success. But you talk to a lot of drivers, and I guess if you're winning, you don't mind. But I think that the guys really enjoyed driving the sprint cars. In Australia, when they get on the fun tyres, like we used to have, high growth left rear tyres, the tyres have got better grip, and the wings are more fun to use. So, these things, it's just opinions, really. My opinion is I like what the rules are in Australia, and I wouldn't change them. But globally, I don't know. Don't you feel like with all the TV and the flow and the dirt visions and everything that it's closer than it's ever been, and you're really in tune with what's going on here more than it's, I love watching the races down there, seeing Jason Kendrick win at Perth Motorplex. Like I was there the other day. It was fun, you know what I mean? It was great. I really love watching I think we're first class in Australia, and I feel like it's come together a lot more, but I really don't know what we do more to bring it all together. It feels like we're there.
Do you feel like it could be a bigger sport if there was one set of rules? But at the same time, I understand there's the hurdles of, you don't want to restrict, say, manufacturers like yourself or, tire manufacturers, and put them in a box. But I just feel like if we could have a sport where it was kind of one set of rules globally, then it would create a much better product.
Yeah, I wish they would do our rules over here. Our Australian rules in America, I wish they would do it. I mean, actually the 360 rules aren't too unlike our Australian rules, actually. California's rules for their general sprint car racing is much like Australia. Really, other than that, it's a flat wing or a dish wing, and the tires. If you change tires, which we do every race, I mean, you could bring your car. Actually, you can run a flat wing in Australia. So really, the car that you run, I mean, Kerry Madsen won Australian championships with basically a car that you could have raced right here. I mean, I can't remember what tires he used, but I'm pretty sure it was probably a combination of both. And
Yeah.
I mean, in Australia, we don't really stop, American cars coming and racing with us. So there's no boundary there. And I mean, if the guys that can afford to come to the United States from Australian race up here, if they wanted to bring their own equipment, which they probably would just buy it here and bring it home, which is how it's normally gone. But if they wanted to bring their equipment, it would work fine. There's nothing. They'd probably, just buy some flat top wings if they weren't using them already, and they've got to go and buy rubber, so it's only a matter of buying the tires and banging them on. So there's really no, I mean, I think that the product, I mean, from the fans' perspective, doesn't look too different. I mean, you look at a sprint car in Australia and think, oh well, that looks a lot different from the one that we see the World of Outlaws racing at Charlotte. I don't really see it. I mean, yeah, there's a dish in the top wing, but other than that, I mean, I think our cars look cooler in Australia than here anyway.